everyone, and welcome to the first of our 30-minute lunchtime chats this week on today, International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day, everybody. And we're here for the beginning of Hull Women's Week. My name's Christina Lewis, and you're going to be seeing a fair bit of me this week, every lunchtime at 12 o'clock, because I've had the brilliant job of interviewing some amazing women from all over the region about their careers and all of their adventures and their journeys up to this point and beyond. And today we thought we'd start with someone who's maybe a little bit more used to being behind the scenes, but someone who's absolutely integral to Hull Women's Week, because it certainly wouldn't happen without her. So I'm delighted to welcome Karen Okra. Karen, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thanks to all the women out there, all the inspirational women.
Well, you've organised events for Hull Women's Week for quite a long time now. So would you mind just starting with when that all began, and why is it so important for you personally that these events need to happen?
I think firstly that I've always had a connection with the Women's Centre. Say from my late teens, early 20s, and I've got a personal story to tell, although I'm not going to say that today. But I think it's important that women have a voice. And I realised that, I think it was 2012, 2013, when we're bidding for the City of Culture. I just felt that there was lots happening in the city when it came to International Women's Day, but we wasn't necessarily communicating and coming together. So a few of us, like-minded people, came together with the support of Jessica Leithley in the Hull Libraries, and allowed us to take the public library downstairs and have a celebration event, and it was really good. Everybody came together, nobody was paid, everybody did it voluntary. They did it with the drive and the inspiration, and because they really wanted to do something, and it was absolutely brilliant. So we did it each year until Hull 2017, when we had Wow, Women of the World.
Oh, yeah.
But then that was our celebratory year, and that was a really good year at the City Hall. But obviously, the celebratory year comes 2018. And so I felt it was integral that we did something in 2018 because of that poignant year where it was 100 years marking that not all women, but some women got the vote.
Yeah.
So the then Lord Mayor, Councillor Mary Glow, and myself and all the like-minded women, inspirational women, lots of women came together at the Guildhall, and we launched that on the Monday of that week, International Women's Day, Hull Women's Week, in 2018. And we've been doing this ever since. And I think it's growing bigger and bigger, and it seems to have come together this year, especially in COVID times, something, the pandemic, we never would have envisaged. And we would have never thought would happen, but we've all come together, and I think that just says a lot about women. We come together, we really do.
Yeah, making things happen even when it's even in the middle of a global pandemic, we're still making it happen.
Yeah, I think as well, we've got to think about not just we're all inspirational and we all bring something to the table, but we have to remember those people in the world. That and even in our own country, it's not necessarily the case for them. So it's sweet and sour. We always have to remember those people that are really struggling. And I think even more so this year in our country, you only have to speak to the ladies from the Women's Centre and Together Women, and they say that the cases of domestic violence, and that's not all about what we celebrate and remember in International Women's Day, but it's just a reminder that those things are still happening, and it's occurring more, in our society. Yeah. And there are challenges, and we still are challenging and battling away with, the men. We have to justify ourselves and challenge every day we wake up. It's a man's world still out there.
And the theme, of course, of International Women's Day is choose to challenge, isn't it, today?
It is choose to challenge, but some people don't even have that choice now. Some people are that vulnerable, and they're in a situation, and in some countries, and even in our own, in relationships, where they can't even have that choice to challenge, which we shouldn't have that choice taken away from us, but we shouldn't have to do it in the first place. We should be equal.
So Karen, if people aren't quite sure what to expect this week, or maybe they've come across this interview and they're not quite sure what else is happening, what's in store for everyone this week? Because I know it's an amazing programme that you've worked really hard on.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's not me that's worked really hard on it. It's everybody else coming together. We've got the BBC showing, running short films throughout the week, and one of them is Louise Cheeseman, and who we've interviewed as well. So I'm looking forward to listening to Louise. She's one of the first Hull women to actually be a director of Hull Trains. And she was really interesting when I was talking to her, and she was saying about, I think our region's got the most women there. So I think that's really good.
Yeah.
We've got the BBC, like I've just said, showing short runs of films, and there's Karen Wilson, one of 2 Black police officers, which is amazing, you know, and lots of other people. And then we've got 2 young rugby players, female, from the women's squad, Hull FC, and amongst the 5 other women as well, who have come forward and sharing their story as well throughout the week, which Hull FC are leading on that, but 2 of the girls are coming to do the talks, the tea break talks. And they're also, which Hull FC are doing as well, they're actually, some of their first team male, you know, the men, they're actually telling their story about women who have influenced them and made a mark in their lives. So I think we can't just say us women, you know, we can't, it is about us celebrating our achievement. But at the same time, we've got to work with men to make change.
Yeah.
And then throughout the week, we've got lunchtime talks, we've got the former High Sheriff, we've got a lady, a young female, absolutely brilliant, Esther. She's a female engineer, and she's got lots behind her. She races classic cars, absolutely brilliant. And then we've got Freya, and she's 14 years old, and she's from Greatfield, and she comes to the club and really contributes a lot to change. And I'm not just saying that, but she does. But she plays netball for Leeds Rhinos. So what about that? I think that's absolutely brilliant, that there's a life outside of Hull for some of our women. And there's lots of women, like the Lord Mayor's gonna, obviously she's launched it this morning. And obviously we're going purple, hashtag Hull, I've got to get that in. So wear something purple. And Lord Mayor's charities this year are the Street Angels, and obviously Hull Help for Refugees. And so the Street Angels, they do a fantastic job. They're actually nurses, and in these current times, they're probably absolutely, not probably, they are absolutely worn out, I think, and really, you know, stuck into the job. But they found the time to, you know, to support this charity where the volunteers, and the same with Pull Out for Refugees. And when you look at the timetable throughout the week, we've got Dame Diana Johnson MP, Emma Hardy MP, we've got lots and lots, but the young people on the Saturday, that is something for me, because I just think we've got a lot to learn from these young people. And we've got Winnie from Young Youth Parliament, and we've got Gabby, the young mayor, and they're actually meeting today, and they did the other day, talking about the White Ribbon campaign, and that's addressing domestic violence, but at a level which is appropriate for them. And I don't mean at a level to put young people down, but at a level where they want to address it, how they feel it's right, and communicate that with us older people who don't necessarily always have the right answers. So it's going to be a fantastic week. And I would like to say at this point, thank you to all those that are taking part throughout the week, because it's integral, you know, to working in partnership, working together for the cause. And we're even going global. The whole business women, we're linking up with like Greece, Australia, Singapore, you name it. They've organised an event on Friday, 11 o'clock. And so that's in, you know, out there, so people can join that. It's absolutely fantastic, brilliant.
That's amazing. Now, Karen, obviously, I know you work with a lot of young people, don't you? I mean, my daughter's just turned 12 today, actually.
Oh, happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. She's had a lovely day. But do you think that, and I'm noticing this particularly with my daughter, but she seems to be so much savvier than I ever was. She's really challenging, she's questioning, she's pushing in the right ways. Do you find that this younger generation that are coming up now are far more willing to challenge and ask questions about things, particularly girls and young women?
Yeah, I think they are, and I know this sounds silly, and people probably think, well, how old are you? Well, I am 60 this year, but at the same time, I was part of the generation that was to be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
And even though that in our time now, as we're living now, everything's technology, mobile phones, social media. I mean, some girls and some women don't have a vote, and you only have to look at some of the countries where even education, they don't have a right to education.
Yeah.
And in one of the Arab countries, and I forget the name of the lady, I'm terrible with names, but she's a racing car driver, and she races cars, but yeah, at the same time, she doesn't have the same equal right as men. But when you look at our young women, some of the challenges that they go through, even in this technical world, they are more savvy, and they take risks more, I think, than what we ever did. And I think we us grown ups, older people, need to take a leaf out of their book.
Yeah.
Because I think, we're only shaped to how our peers, we look to our peers for sort of advice and support, but at the same time, to keep in tune with what's going on in the world, we need to look to our younger generation. So yeah, and I think it's important, and I love being around young people because it makes me I feel a bit younger than what I am. So yeah, I don't forget how old I am, but it keep me tuned in, definitely.
Yeah, they do, and I think there's definitely, they're cottoning on quicker. I think that adults aren't always right, because I don't know about you, but I was taught pretty much that grown-ups are always right. You don't question authority, it's just the way it is. But it seems now this kind of younger generation are really aware that adults aren't always right, because it's a dangerous kind of path to go down, isn't it, when you start thinking that all grown-ups are right, because we're not.
And we're not always right, and we're not indispensable neither. And I think we've all got something to learn. And the day I stop learning, I'm sorry to say, some people might be happy, some people might not be, but it'll be the day when I'm not here. But I hope to leave something in the fact that I was somebody who listened. People who know me know I can talk a lot, but I like to listen. Yeah. And I think we're not always right, and young people are savvy, but they'll tell us so as well. And I can remember when the former High Sheriff, Sue Stevenson, came to the St Stephen's Neighbourhood Centre where we have our kids club, and there was one young lad in particular sort of challenged her, and it was in relation to history, and she was giving facts and figures and a bit of background to a story, and he challenged her, and he said, well, I don't think so, and he said it was so and so, and she really took that on board, and she wants to come and see us again, and in particular that person. So yeah, young people keep us on our toes, and at the same time, they're the future, so we need to listen.
Yeah,
we're not going to be around in 50 years time, but they will be. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, Karen, we've met quite a few times over the years and met and had a chat and various officers, but I don't know your background. So would you just mind telling us a little bit about where you started and kind of your journey up to now?
Yeah, I was a young carer, and I lived on Long Hill. I grew up on Long Hill most of my life, from the age of 10 up until about 5-6 years ago. But I've never really left because I'm always there doing my volunteer work, and especially in Eastall. I still call it home, even though I've made home in Westall. There's a bit of rivalry there. But it's not that I sit on the fence, but no. And I was a young carer, so I was a young carer from about the age of 10. The eldest of 3 girls, and my mum, she was white, originally from London, and we was on our own. So we was one of like three families, I believe, something like that, from a single parent background and one of two from a Black minority ethnic background. So it was tough. And then obviously leaving school, things weren't very good. And like I said, it's not, the right time today to talk about that. But I came out the other end, and, in relationships, they are tough sometimes. And so I found that my voluntary work and making links with the Women's Centre was really good and a positive one for me. And at that point, the more confident you get and your confidence comes back, because I was really vulnerable, and my mum had passed away and my daughter had started college. I decided to go back to school myself. And so I went to college, evening classes, college, and I went to university. And it's not the fact that I got a degree and I passed, it was my journey. And that's been the biggest thing for me, my journey and people along the way that make me who I am. Yeah. But I always knew that community, grassroots community, I would never ever forget where I come from, and I won't. And I don't care what company I'm in. I don't care where somebody's come from. There's no airs and graces with me, and I'm just how I am. And I think that's one thing I like in people as well, not just in myself, people to be themselves. Yeah. And we come from all walks of lives, but we need to respect one another. And I don't always do everything right, and I hold my hand up. I know that I can't do it on my own, and I won't want to be in the world on my own, and I'm not. So I look to other people, but I'm also mindful that it's not always like that for everyone. And although my life has turned round, for some people it never does. And sad to say, and it's a sad ending. But for some, they'll always struggle as well. And yeah, we need to be mindful of that. And I think that, International Women's Day, whole Women's Week, I think nearly every woman and every person who's part of that will say it's not just for a week, it's for every day, and we've got to support one another. Yeah.
Well, obviously, this will be the first lunchtime interview that goes out, but I've spent the last week interviewing some amazing women who you've already named, Check, so Dame Diana Johnson, Emma Hardy MP, Louise Cheeseman, Louise Beach, who many people will know as a film novelist. And what comes out over and over again is the importance of women championing other women, giving them advice, whether that's in life, in a job, whatever it might be, but kind of looking to other women to lift them up and show them what to do. So who kind of along your journey's been inspirational for you?
Well, can I just say that there are some people that are current, like the people that have taken part this week, Carrie Martin. We've also got Jessica Leithley, who supported me, Christine Abeltoft from the Hull CCG, Councillor Esther Bridges. There's other, people, Anissa, there's lots of people that are taking part, women. But if I was to say where I am today, if it wasn't for the people who I'm going to say, is my mum, first of all. And when we talk about challenging, things have changed, but my mum had multiple sclerosis, and she sadly passed away with multiple myeloma when she was 60. But she had a tough life, a tough childhood. And when she was 14, she won a scholarship for Pitman's College. But her aunt, who brought her up, said that she couldn't go, she had to go out to work. And it wasn't until the 70s and the early 80s, she went back to college, and she actually set up Society of Disabled Students, SODS they called them, short for Society of Disabled Students. And she actually made, then I can remember John Prescott, so John Prescott, an honorary SOD, Society of Disabled Students, and I think he'd been in an accident and he'd broken both of his legs. But anyway, she did that, and she used to write for the Multiple Sclerosis magazine, and she used to do lots of things, but she was quite visionary, and she used to challenge. And when obviously I was born, and like we first came, she first came to Hull, it was frowned upon if you was in mixed marriages, in a relationship with other people from an ethnic minority background. So she had it, yeah, she had the challenge and we did as well. But then the second person is the late PC Sharon Hoth, who actually I saw the person. I mean, there's some good people in the police, but there's also some, people would say there's some challenges there where people feel that they've not been trusted because of events what have happened.
Yeah.
But there are still some good police there. But what made me think beyond that was Sharon. You saw Sharon, the late PC Sharon Hoth, as a person before the uniform. And when she obviously sadly passed away, it was testament when you went to her funeral and you saw there's such diverse groups and the amount of people that came to pay the respects. It was unbelievable and so moving. And she supported me in some of the ideas and some of the things I'm doing now on Women's Week. And her family, absolutely brilliant. So that legacy lives on and it'll always will be with me. And I know it is for a lot of the women that are taking part and the work within the police. You can't fill somebody's shows, but you can continue to develop that work. So that's PC Sharon Hoth. And then there's Michelle Obama.
Oh, yes.
Michelle Obama. And the reason why I say about Michelle Obama is because I've got to think of Barack as well. Because even though Barack Obama is there, he really has took along his wife by his side. They're both equal, or they come across as equal. I mean, unless somebody tells me different or I see different, but I just listen to the words and I listen how they are. And he would probably say he wouldn't be where he was today, and even in his presidency, if it wasn't for Michelle Obama. And then there's Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks stands for everything. She not only stands as a woman, but she refused to give a seat up, as a Black person who was told she had to move and give a seat up because she was a woman of colour. And I do think, I think there may have been an element that she was a woman as well, but I know at that time, the people were sort of persecuted and for who they were, male and female. But yeah. And I think I can't think whoever else I was gonna say, but I just think that there's lots of people who I look up to and who really have supported me along the way. And I don't like saying any one particular person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more like a collective thing, isn't it? It's hard to name check because there's just so many different people. It just becomes more of a collective.
Yeah. I just think that it's really important. I think you learn something from everyone and everybody's different. So there's different elements that you take from everyone, and it's not about taking, but you learn and you're mindful, and you I don't care what anybody says, you always try to be like somebody else. That's why I think it's important to have positive role models.
Yeah.
Because for some people they look to other people and they're not necessarily a positive role model. So for me, I think it's important. But yeah, it's really good. I've learned a lot from people.
Yeah, well, talking about positive role models, I know there's an awful lot of people throughout the city, and you only have to look at where this has been advertised and people are saying, it's Karen, I know Karen from here, I know Karen from there. So you're really, really well known in communities all over Hull. So many people would look, whether you feel like it or not, like a role model.
I don't, and it doesn't lie easy with me, I'll be honest with you. And I like to be there with everyone at the front of everything to make change and challenge. And I like to do that. I don't like injustice. And injustice, it makes me want to find a different approach, and I'll work and battle a bit harder.
Yeah.
If it comes with a territory that I have to be at the front of things, then yes. So a lot of time people say, oh, we've seen you on this, that and the other. That's okay. But I'm quite, when it comes to myself, I do lack confidence a little bit, and I don't want to make myself vulnerable now by saying that. But at the same time, yeah, somebody can do something once, twice, and then I'm thinking, no, I'm not having this, you know,
Yeah,
if I think it's right, and I will challenge. And I just think that we've got to think about those people that are not necessarily have got a voice to do that.
yeah.
So hopefully, you know, amongst like-minded people, we
Mm.
can try and make change and challenge. And yeah, and I think across the globe, you know, it's heartbreaking sometimes. And I'm not saying this patronizing or in a way, but you know, it's upsetting sometimes when you see I saw a little girl on the TV in Yemen, and I think she was about 4 or 5, and she had a little baby brother, or I think it was a brother, 2 years old, and she'd been macheted, and they were orphans, and I just think, no, this can't be right, you know. But yeah, we've got to keep trying, and I know some people say, well, charity begins at home. In one way, we've got to look at and we have to look at ourselves before we can do anything else out there. And at the same time, we've got to take time for ourselves. So whole Women's Week is just the time and the place to challenge, but to make time for ourselves too.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Karen, there's so much happening this week, but just before we end, would you mind just talking a little bit about period dignity? Because this is really important and it launches this week, doesn't it?
Yeah, Period Dignity is launched on Wednesday, and it's online, and you'll find it, you know, out there on social media. And
Mm.
it's come about from Councillor Esther Bridges, actually, and the Women's Centre, and a group of inspirational people coming together, you know, actually researching about, you know, the period products and things like that, and about how expensive they are, but also about what they're made of, which is not always necessarily good for our bodies, but at the same time for the environment, and also about, you know, the price of that, but
Yeah.
but mainly as well about sometimes the decisions that are made about the, you know, the sanitary products comes from male peers,
Mm.
and that, you know, have this delusion that maybe we only need a certain amount, not even 12 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but if you sign in and tune in on Wednesday, you might hear a bit more. But, you know, saying how many products that we need
Mm.
throughout a year. I don't think it's a place for a man to say that. I don't want to get political or technical, or
I don't think it is,
I will
Karen.
challenge. I
I'll
would
challenge
challenge
that
that.
one. I'll
Yeah,
challenge it with you because
yeah,
it's very, I don't think a man who's ever been through that or has any idea about what periods are like or how many sanitary products are needed during that time or whatever, I don't think anyone can make that decision who hasn't been through it.
yeah. I think so, and I think they better watch this space, because I think they end up contending with a lot of women who
Yeah.
do know what we're talking about, because we've either gone through it, or we're still going through it, or it's to come. So I think they need to be mindful what we're saying and do. But us women, we have, it's, you know, when we say about period dignity,
Mm.
yes, it is our dignity, it's our right, and we shouldn't have to challenge that. We shouldn't even have to have a period dignity event, but hey ho, this is where we are. So the best, be mindful. And I think for any women out there, or even if they probably want to learn more about that, because we've got to work with men, well, tune in on Wednesday.
Yeah. What time is that on Wednesday, Karen?
I think it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. But watch out for this space, and you know, and there is a link, and it's out there on social media, so you know that. I'm terrible with times and numbers and names, so I mean this week, yeah.
I don't know how you keep it all in your head because there's a lot going on, isn't there, at the
There
minute?
is, there is. But hey ho. But yeah, there's lots of things to come, and there's hairbreast friends.
Mm.
We've got people throughout the week from there, what they do maybe in their day job to what they're volunteering, to
Mm.
how they juggle that with family life and things that they've gone through. And it's amazing. And those people, I can't thank them enough, you know, for making the week. And I'm looking forward to the week. And
Yeah.
Lisa Hilda, Lisa Hilda's done a short time talk, but she's also going to be part of a panel on Friday
Yeah.
And it's 6:30 with Karen Daniels from Unite and Anissa Akbar. And obviously Lisa Hilder's one of the first and one of the former trustees when they formed Preston Road Women's Centre.
Yeah.
And she will tell you about how that their work is building and building and developing, and that other cities are looking to them in the way of good practice. But that again, this would be the first to say that's a good thing that they're doing that. But then you have to look, well, why is that?
Yeah.
Why are we needing that service there?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I guess over the past year, that service has been needed more by a lot of women, obviously because of the pandemic and having to be locked down in those situations.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's not just the women, it's those children and families.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're experiencing in that as well. And there's been research, and I don't know, don't quote me on this, and I can't give you figures, but research to say that young people and children that have been brought up in households of, you know, where they've experienced domestic violence with a parent. And we must remember as well, it's mostly in women, but some men do experience it as well. So we need to, you know, just mention that. But when young people and children experiencing that, it does affect them long term.
Yeah.
And it can affect them, and they could, you know, end up being, you know, in abusive relationships and be the perpetrator themselves, which is not good. But, you know, obviously, if you're brought up in conflicts, in many types of conflict, it scars you. So yeah, and it's a lot to turn that around. But, you know, we've got to support and help those people and support those people that are supporting, you know, those people that it's happening to.
Yeah.
And yeah. But for all that, I'm happy for this week, and that I really am happy. I'd like to say thank you to everyone as well. I want to take that opportunity and hashtag going purple hull, wear something purple, not just today, but throughout the week as well, to say that we're here to raise the bar for equality and to challenge where needed.
Well, just to echo that, Karen, everyone get your purple glad rags on this week. I'd like to say a huge thank you to you for kicking the lunchtime talks off with this interview. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. And as well, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Jess and Rebecca at the library for
absolutely fantastic.
They've set up meetings for us. They've been on hand with any tech difficulties. They've been amazing. So 2 incredible women there, 3, Karen, including Karen, 3 incredible women. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. And happy International Women's Day to yourself.
And to you.
And to Jess at the library, and to Becky, and to all those women out there. And thank you to the BBC who are joining in this week, and to the Hull City Council for turning the fountains and the civic building, you know, Queen's Gardens fountain and the civic buildings purple. Absolutely brilliant. Not forgetting we have Dr. Mary, the Murdoch Bridge. And so Dr. Mary Murdoch was part of the Hull and East Yorkshire suffragette movement in Hull years ago. So yeah.
In fact, I won't say who, but somebody this week has chosen Mary as their dinner party guest if they were going to have a dinner party, because apparently she was an incredible character. She was absolutely brilliant. And she did, she got caught speeding, I think, was it 20 mile an hour years ago, over 100 years, like 100 years ago. So it's so apt that the bridge is there, but just watch your speed, because it is down to 30. Yeah, so don't do a Mary. No, don't do a Mary. Thank you so much. Oh, Karen, it's been fab to talk to you. Everything's going to be brilliant this week. Everyone tune in. There's loads going on. And Karen, just one last thing. If anyone wants to know where they can see everything, is it on the library's website? It's on the library's website. Just find everything, nearly everything there it's online because of the pandemic. But also, I think everybody's going to be through their organisation, Hull FC, BBC, the libraries, Hull City Council. Sorry if I've missed anybody, but it's hashtag going Pebble Hull. So you'll see things being tweeted and on Instagram. Yeah. Amazing.
Thank
Get
you.
involved. Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's going to be brilliant. And thank you for joining me.
Okay. Have a nice day and throughout the week.
You
Okay,
too.
bye. Bye.